lovely to have you here. We are so proud, so pleased, and so absolutely delighted to have this opportunity to hear about your careers, to hear about your insights, to maybe have an introduction, for all of you about these paths of these professionals to a kind of power, which is not the kind of traditional power that you would easily discern in different situations, but rather it is something that is more subtle, isn't it?
Yes.
It has to do with your professionalism. It has to do with your inner confidence and your competencies, okay? Because you know that you have this background and the foundation that you need. It comes from something that then builds up to this certainty, this inner confidence, I would say, that, whatever the situation, you will be in the clear because you simply know how to do things. So would this in any way describe what you're doing? Say yes, please.
Yes.
Yes and no.
Yeah. So we're hoping that during this, it doesn't need to be really that official and formal, but this questions and this interview that we would like to do with you, that it will become very apparent and clear to everyone who is here today how valuable it is that you're all communicators, okay? And we also hope that you'd be able to share with everybody that we also cherish very much tonight, how pleased you are with the things that you're doing today. Would that be okay with everyone?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay. Tesi, do you want to? I need to take a breath. So, do you want to start with the questions?
Oh, okay.
So,
we decided otherwise, but let's do this. Yeah, this is fine.
Okay. So flexibility, resilience, readiness to change, readiness to embrace situation, whatever may come.
Yes.
There.
Well, how would you describe the international aspect of your work?
Who would like to start?
Well, I think Bosch is a German company, first of all, so it's a very global brand. Everybody knows it. We have locations throughout the world and 400,000 colleagues around the world, so from different countries, cultures, and we need to communicate and cooperate with them. So we in the Nordics, we communicate and cooperate with Denmark, Sweden, Norway, with Germany sometimes, because that's our central location. Headquarters are located in Stuttgart, and sometimes with Romanian people because we have a service center up there. So a lot of international work with them, I would say.
And do you get to travel to all of these locations?
Sadly, no.
Oh.
Sometimes I can travel to Sweden if I have a training for new tasks, for example, and if we have get-togethers or meet and greets in Denmark for our whole finance employees, we have once a year or once in 6 months, but now with the pandemic, we haven't had that in 2 years now. So, but now it's a bit opening up and we get to travel a bit more and see our colleagues face to face finally.
That always, of course, has a specific value that you're face to face, meeting in reality. Yeah.
Well, I could share my experiences from working as an assistant at the Embassy of Finland in Madrid, Spain. And the quite obvious international aspect of it would be that it's located in this Southern European, very multicultural city. And yeah, there was a lot of staff at our office at the embassy that are Spanish-speaking people. So the working language was most of the time in Spanish. So that's maybe the key aspect.
So, in practice, on a practical level, what everyone is saying and talking about corporate language being English, maybe so in reality it would be something totally different. So how about the local language?
Yes, at least in the case of the embassy.
Yeah.
Very much.
Wow.
Yeah, and in my case, so I graduated from Haaga-Helia in 2015, and since 2014 already I've been working a lot here in Helsinki with entrepreneurs and startups, and that has been an incredible international scene. So I've been working with all types of people from all around the world, and especially while working in Accelerator, we had startups coming also from all around the world, from Egypt, from the Emirates, from the US, like in so many other countries. And through that you get like really a lot to practice your communication skills and understanding other cultures, because everybody is so different. And I've also been traveling and organizing workshops a lot in other countries as well. So in that sense you also need to really know the culture, and when you know the language as well, that also helps so much.
Just a brief question. Did you get any intercultural education in your companies provided for you by them? You did?
I had a native Spanish-speaking lady teaching me Spanish once a week. Every Wednesday my day would start with a Spanish lesson. So on top of already speaking Spanish every day at my everyday life and having my studies from Haaga-Helia, I also got like good education at the embassy also. So that was a very nice bonus for the working.
Indeed. What about Eemil?
No, we haven't had any trainings, but it's just when we have this introduction to the company, it just says that you are free who you are, just be who you are, and we are Bosch, we are all at the same level, doesn't matter from which country you are, so there is no need to stress about it, so just go with the flow, and that's it, basically.
What about the Aalto?
Well, I had a very good course in Haaga-Helia on intercultural communication, and I was
This
studying.
is not a
so
paid.
But then not specifically, but just one or twice when I was traveling, for example, to Emirates, we had this special 2-hour workshop where we, especially as women traveling there, we were told and explained how to behave and how not to behave, and what to be prepared for.
Yeah.
So that was super useful.
Now that sounds truly global to
Yes.
me, doesn't it? And also it sounds that in your companies and by your companies, you're appreciated as part of the staff. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Very valued, yeah.
You're valued. To know that you're valued, so that's empowering also.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I just see that I'm getting back to this theme of power, all this power that administrative professionals enjoy in their work, even though it's not maybe explicit like that. Okay. Is the next question for you?
Yours.
Okay. All right.
This
Well,
is all.
so let's see. Here we are. So what about some, could you mention maybe some key qualities that are required in your international or global roles? How about you, Eemil?
I think language skills, first and foremost, because...
Correct.
maybe even the business side of the languages, because when you're working in a big company which operates worldwide, you need to have very good business English or business German. It depends where you are located. So thank you both for the very exceptional training a few years ago, because that helped me a lot in the beginning, since I was a very naive intern when I started at Bosch and I didn't know what to do, so I was just writing to everyone, dear sir, dear madam, sehr geehrte Frau, and so on. But then they said that, yeah, we don't use that here because we are like a modern company nowadays. So even that we are German, we are not that conservative anymore. So we are in the midst of the globalization, so it's not that important. So, and also the understanding of the different cultures, that you have to know and adapt and be open-minded when you meet different people, that it's not necessarily an insult to you if they talk about speak to you a bit differently than you are used to. So that's also a key quality that you need to have, that you are open to adapt and to adjust in every situation.
That was actually wonderful, don't you think, Tesi? That we heard the explanation for register, right?
Eemil didn't know that, but we
Yeah.
did, yes.
That was what register is all about.
Yeah, that's true.
And you recognized it, and you identified it, and you acted upon it. So good for you.
Yes.
Always nice to hear. All right. How about you?
Yeah. Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, about the qualities that are required of a person who's in an international or global role.
Yeah, you should be a very dynamic person. I would say open-minded and motivated. That gets you.
What's dynamic?
Like,
Jogging? No.
maybe not, but yeah, you need to be like dynamic when the situation needs. I mean, in Spain, the culture is very much different than in Finland. For example, in an interview or a conversation like this, they might interrupt you, but they don't mean anything bad with that.
Oh, we
It's
never
like-
interrupted.
Here, it's like seen like a lack of manners if you're interrupting someone, but in there, it's like almost like showing that you respect and you're interested in the topic and the other.
Very good.
So you need to be aware of these and maybe do your homework, maybe do research before.
On the cultural differences.
Yes.
Yeah. So if in Finland it's considered good manners to be silent and not to interrupt, but then in another culture it might be just considered, in an opposite manner, good manners to be able to interrupt and show that you have intellect.
And it's a sign of interest as well, like you said.
Yes.
Yes. Anna, what about you?
Yeah, I agree definitely with what was said. So from skills is of course languages and especially special vocabulary, like the business vocabulary, administrative vocabulary, etc. That's been super useful. And the intercultural skills. And then the general communication skills, so even how to do presentations, how to talk to other people, how to write properly. That's been super useful. But then in addition to that, what you perhaps mentioned as qualities, I would call an attitude. That's super important, and especially attitude of openness and friendliness and empathy. So when you, exactly as you mentioned, that when the other person does something strange or maybe even offensive to you, you should have enough empathy and understanding that they're not doing that because they want to offend you, but just because they come from a different culture and it's a normal thing there. So I had, for example, one entrepreneur from Peru, and he would always be late like 15-20 minutes to all of the workshops and coachings and everything. And I think that our coaches were pretty mad about that. But because I know that culture, I know that it's completely normal there to be late. He was actually as surprised that we were starting on time. So it was, because I knew that, it was not a problem for me. So I just talked to him and I explained like, hey, in this culture we actually do start on time. So you are just missing this valuable time and you're slightly bothering others. He was like, okay, next time I'll come on time. So it was just a bit of that, never thinking that the other person is trying to offend you, but just always coming from the perspective that they are maybe just not understanding something from your culture, or you are not understanding something from their culture.
And just to comment that, imagine if you hadn't brought up the point
Exactly, yes.
that you need to be open with your communication also, like ottaa kissa pöydälle in this manner that if something bothers
Not beating about the bush, it's called. Yes.
not beating about the bush
Yes.
and talking about it straight and having a conversation, what bad can happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the situation was fixed later, so it's good.
It's really good points.
Have you had any challenging moments regarding cultural differences?
Some.
It's obviously it's been very smooth and because you're well prepared, you haven't had these difficulties.
No, but since, like Kristiina mentioned, that Finnish people usually are silent during the conversation, and when I had a meeting with a senior level superior, we had just a small meeting in Germany, and then I was just sitting, listening, and then every once in a while he was just asking it, "Did you understand what I said?" I was, yes, no problem, sir. Okay, because you're just silent, you don't say anything. No, I explained them that this is just a Finnish quality that everyone has, that we don't interrupt because we think that that's not very polite, but in German they are used when you just say every once in a while yeah or just small comments or something like that. So that was a small cultural challenge, but they actually learned it quickly that he's from Finland. So
He doesn't do active listening.
Yeah.
It doesn't produce a response that is visible
Exactly,
to everyone
yeah.
else. Yeah, maybe that.
I had once perhaps a small challenge with one intern from Japan that we had. Because in Asia it's so important to save face. So even if they don't understand what you're saying, sometimes they just say yes, yes. So I was explaining something to her what she needs to do, and she was yes, yes, yes. And then in the end of the conversation I realized that actually she didn't get it. So because the language was also not so good. So then I was just making sure that I speak slower, and I was even specifically writing an email to her so that then she could read it and maybe understand a bit better. But I would not, try to affect her and say like, hey, if you don't understand, say no. But I just went on with her culture, but just try to modify my communication a little bit.
So you were able to adapt and react to that situation like you should have, and so that it was productive at the end.
Yeah, and it did happen just because I had that knowledge about these different cultural aspects, that saving face, how people relate to time, and all this. It's like super useful.
What would be the most important thing that you have learned at work? What would be something where you actually see yourself as a part of an international and global community?
Maybe adapting these processes of working more efficiently, working well. I mean, there's like 4 stages of any given task. First, I like to analyze the situation. What am I going to do? How is the environment? Second, create your plan, your strategy, your goals. Where are you aiming at? And third, execute your plan. Start doing it. And fourth, look back on where your strategy has gotten you. So it's like this work experience in Spain, I needed to be like, I was there on my own, and it was a very new experience for me. So I needed to like use calendar, prioritize my tasks, and make it like efficient and clear for myself what I'm actually doing there.
So you were like totally independent in real life.
Yes, I did have actually roommates from many countries, but I was there still on my own. Like I didn't have family or anything there. So.
Sounds so good.
Did you have a self-security from the beginning, or did you build it up as you went along, as you learned new things and new ways, new strategies maybe?
I think I built it along the way, but I had this thing in my mind that I've been living on my own since I turned 18, so of course I'm going to be independent enough, and I know this language. That's also very important to know Spanish, even though English is like very important language, and it's the language of business and internet. But actually in Spain, not many people, if they are not very educated and work in an international environment, they are not going to speak English. You have to do your groceries and your day-to-day tasks in Spanish. So maybe the language, while I was developing my language skills, also my confidence and my strategies and my processes were getting better.
Eemil, what situations did you have in Germany with English? Or you didn't need English probably? What would you say?
I didn't need it not that much, unless we had Skype calls with other countries from Hungary, Romania, Denmark, etc. But mainly I used German. But in the beginning it was extremely difficult because the vocabulary and the language that they spoke in the accounting department was like a completely new planet to me. So I was like very insecure. But then with time I adapted, I understood what they meant, so it got easier with time. but that's of course natural in any given situation. But I would say that was the key, probably one of the key aspects that I learned, that okay, I understand this now, and also engage in the conversation, not to be quiet all the time, so that also helped a little. But in general, other most important things that I've learned, that I can use the subsystem, which is the accounting system that we used, and now I know a lot from it, so how to use it, which aspects to use, and also instruct people who are new to the system that what to do, and of course time management. It just comes with time. That it's not something that someone can teach you. You have to manage by yourself. Of course, that's how to manage your tasks and everything.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about languages and learning, right? So in regards to languages, once again, just to mention that my work language in pretty much all workplaces has been more or less half Finnish, half English. And then whenever I could also use Spanish and Russian, so they are my two languages. And something that I have discovered, that it's actually really cool and really nice to talk at least a little bit to other people in their own language. It's whenever and that's something that I learned from my ex-boss, it's like whenever foreign delegations will come into us, or we would have some calls with somebody from abroad, he would always greet them and say a couple of words in their own language. And it would always just break the ice, and people would just start smiling, even if you have like a terrible accent or you made a mistake, but people would just start smiling, and you know, you can start with a small talk, maybe mention that, yeah, I was in where are you from, and I was there in my internship, or I was given a workshop in that country. And it just like helps a lot, and it just you know, kind of moves people into this very positive and open atmosphere. And then you can switch to English and then continue communication to English. But it's very useful, you know, to sometimes just before the meeting Google how to say these 3 words in this other language, and then use them. Yeah,
shows respect.
Yeah.
And now that you mentioned English, okay, we just have to ask these lovely young people. So what do you think are the requirements, contemporary, meaning of today, you know, for good business, corporate English, global English? What is it really? What's the essence of this global English? What does it require that you reach all of your global audiences?
Well, at least you need to be polite when creating your messages and trying not to offend anyone, at least intentionally. There is always the risk that someone gets offended, right? But try to form your message you are trying to put out in a most like not neutral manner, but appreciated and good manner. One good example from like marketing communications comes to mind. Everybody knows the Coca-Cola company. They have this slogan, "Taste the feeling," right? So taste the feeling is a message that is not tied to culture, religion, sexual orientation, skin color, anything of characteristics of a person. So it's like very, very catchy and good slogan, I would say. Everyone has feelings. Who doesn't want to have like positive feelings?
Yeah, that was very cleverly put about the nature of a language. Okay, so to include that politeness, that empathy and respect. Okay, so how can you do that? Anything to say about that?
I think you need to be mature in your language, that you show the person that you're speaking respect, and also in the manner that you're speaking. If you go to a superior, you don't say "sup" or something like that. It just gives the wrong message, and just go at "Sir, how are you doing?" If he or she or ma'am, if they say that it's not needed, that you can just say "How are you doing?" It's not needed. It's "Sir" or "Ma'am," whatever. And also, when you are mature enough, they actually will listen to you, because they will think, or hopefully they will also think and see that you are an interesting person and you're intelligent, so that gives you an advantage also when you're communicating and so on.
So it's not just what you say, but this is this old cliche, it is how you say it. Yeah, it's important. That is, balm to our ears, isn't it? Yes, it is. Okay, any other example of that? Yes.
Yeah, I think I would like to add that it's important skill also with the English language is even if you know and speak it on the level of a native person, and we also know that people speak differently in UK, for example, and US. But even if you're like really, really knowledgeable, you know all these phrases, you sometimes can, make some jokes or humor in that language that natives would understand. But the important skill would still be to know how to simplify the language. Because very often, like other people from other countries, they might not have that level, and they might just not understand what you're saying. And I usually had problems, seeing international groups that everybody would speak fine between themselves in English, but when a native speaker comes, nobody understands what they actually mean, and in conflict arises, and some misunderstanding comes from that. And you would think like, hey, they're the native speakers. Like there's this funny sketch also, so once like that an English lady in UK is, coming to the language courses, and she says like, I would like to take an English course. So it's like, okay, for whom? For me. But you already speak English. No, but I want to speak English as a foreign language because nobody understands me. So that's also a useful skill to like really simplify the communication.
Without forgetting the empathy and respect and politeness, of course.
Yes.
Those small words are easy to put in.
Yeah, I mean all the thank you and could you please, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Think about it that we don't have the word please in Finnish. Quite embarrassing actually. Of course other expressions to go around it, but still. Yeah.
We kind of just use thank you, kiitos.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah. But the actual word as such is not really, it is
like asking something.
Yeah.
That was a shock for Germans.
Yeah. And everybody else.
Yeah, how do you say please in Finnish? Then I said, one moment, so it doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, as the Finnish and English are also like mixing, sometimes we speak about Finglish. It sounds very unofficial. But I mean, sometimes there are words like we could mix, like please, yksi kahvi, please. Well, that sounds bad, but I mean, sometimes it's good to mix if we're missing the word and there's no better way to express what you're trying to get across.
There's always English.
Yeah.
And the other languages that everyone cherishes here.
Do we have any other important questions?
I have one in mind, one particularly. So any advice that you would like to give all of these lovely young people here who are looking forward to some of them have already embarked on initial careers, but any advice about global roles, anything that you've thought, this is something I would maybe help people with or send to people as a piece of advice?
Yeah, I think I would like, first of all, to give advice about networking. Networking is just so important. And we haven't really talked about our careers here, but for me, all the jobs and really, really amazing positions that I've been getting, they came pretty much from networking. It was just very, very slight movement from one place to another that I was not really, looking for recruitment advertisement, but I was just getting by talking to people and proactively asking them, like, hey, maybe you have a position open because because you really need me. So this like proactiveness and networking, it just takes you so far. And from the international perspective, it also helps a lot that, the more you network also with international specialists, for example, here in Finland, the more you also learn about the other cultures and how they communicate. So when you go to your job place and you have to communicate with somebody, I don't know, from Latin America, for example, I had a classmate from that country, and I kind of more or less learned about the way they communicate, and so it's so much easier. And another advice is to be always open to learning things, and not be afraid of making mistakes. Because once again, with international, I just learned so much just by talking to other people from other countries, and not just focusing on what I'm saying and what they are saying, but just trying to see the situation. Okay, how do they communicate? What communication challenges we're perhaps experiencing, and how their life is in their country, because it's really different. How do they do business in their country? Because I've been working with businesses, so it's been super useful just to always see everything as a learning opportunity.
Lovely.
Agreed so much on that. And I would like to add about the language skills. Wherever you go, it's obviously beneficial to know the native language there. And I mean, because the language really comes with hand in hand with the culture. So you're also at the same time learning about their manners and how they are expecting people to act and do business. So it's not only the language but also the culture, and to really be efficient and do the networking needed, you need to handle the language, and with that also it's like you're getting richer in a way, learning new cultures, and it's very cool.
It's cool.
Cool.
Yes, cool.
I would like also to add that, well, this sounds like a cliche advice, but don't give up. Like when you apply for a position, internship, whatever, that's in every success story there are a few failures, so don't let yourself down with that, and it just gives you the opportunity to maybe learn or to actually just analyze if you've done something wrong or whatever, and then just search another position, and then just you will find the right spot anyway. So it's
makes you stronger.
Yes, exactly. So and also like Anna mentioned, the language, that even if you don't speak the language perfectly, like on a very high level, still use it. Like many Finnish people, they don't speak the language in the country when they arrive because but I don't know the language that well, and so why should I use it? I will just embarrass myself. But actually, when you speak it, then the natives will be just happy when you at least try to speak it, because if you talk English with them, it doesn't give you the same effect or satisfaction when you use actually the native language there. And there are also, like in Germany, that there are stereotypes that German people are aggressive, or their language sounds aggressive, and they don't have humor, and they're very serious. But when I arrived there, within 15 minutes, an old lady came up to me and said, do you need help? So, because you look a bit lost. So I was like, yes, I need to go there and there. So, you just go straight ahead to the right, and then you're there. So, and even if you don't speak German perfectly or any other language, so it's not that bad.
So not believing in stereotypes and
yes, exactly.
Facing everyone as an individual and being open-minded. Yeah, it gets you.
Yes, and
Gets you far.
Yes.
And if you have a chance for an intercultural course or whatever, so I would advise to take it if you go abroad or plan to go abroad, because it gives you a different perspective on different types of cultures and countries and people, and it will help you out.
Would you like to add anything?
I would like to add about job hunting, since you started, just like a little tip. When you're looking for the recruitment advertisements, in the end they always write, like, if you have any questions, call this number, call this person. Please call. Always call. You're like surprised how little people actually call in. Nobody is ever calling. I always call. I was like twice I was looking for a job, and I saw that in advertisement, and I called because I genuinely had questions about position, and both times I was invited directly to the interview. And I think it's just because I was the only one who actually called.
That's brilliant.
So do that. That's like a little tip, but it will take you far. I mean, I was surprised. I myself, we were recruiting once, and I was going through the actually in startup school when we were recruiting assistant interns every half a year, and we are literally in the same building. Nobody ever came to ask anything, nobody ever called, and I was surprised because I could tell so much about this position to the person who would call and ask, that would help you to personalize your application. And then especially when you come to the interview or when you send the application, they're like, oh, this is the person who called, I remember, I'm going to invite them. So it's like a small thing, but it can take you really far.
Just a small phone call.
Yeah.
I was wondering, could we open up maybe the discussion also
Yes.
to the audience would
I
like
think
to
so.
ask something, and
Yeah, we're done with the
probably
questions.
Also to hear something shortly about your careers from Haaga-Helia. Where are you now? And what has happened in between, and what's still happening now? When for instance, you are still here studying, but so much has happened already, also in your career. So it would be wonderful to hear maybe something about that, or if you agree, and maybe if you have any questions, then just please.
Yeah, sure. Like you mentioned, I'm still studying and will be graduating this summer actually.
Yeah.
And I'm currently going through some job interviews. Hope I get the place tomorrow actually.
Call.
That's funny. And yeah, I am basically at the beginning of my career as an administrative professional, but yeah, the internship at the Embassy of Finland, it was very good experience, and I'm very confident that I got like experience and skills from there that will serve me in the future. And also for the job hunt and how did I get to that position, I would add that I did an Erasmus exchange in January 2021 in one of the best universities in Spain, or in Madrid at least. So if you're aiming to do your internship abroad, try to do an exchange, student exchange also. It's very helpful, and you will get to know do that.
Was that your best decision you've ever made?
Yes.
Not a leading question.
We discussed that.
Yeah.
How about you, Anna? You have also had career also here actually. It's not
Yes.
here in Haga.
Yeah, I'm before Haaga-Helia, also I'm originally coming from Russia, and in Russia I was working as a teacher for some years and then doing some projects. But then in 2012 I got accepted to Haaga-Helia, back then ASSI program, and I moved from teaching to business side pretty much. So I learned a lot about how businesses operate, and it was super interesting to me. And while studying, I also noticed this startup school program, and I got really interested in that. But not a lot of things were happening there. So one day I just came into the office and I asked, like, hey, what's going on? What are you organizing? And there was just one person working there back then. And then I said, like, hey, you know what? You need me. So I wrote a thesis for startup school. So this is also a thing that if you are aiming at some company, maybe suggest a thesis, to write a thesis for them first. And then after that, they scraped some funding for my internship. And then after internship, I got accepted to work there. So even before graduated, I already started to work in startup school. So I worked there, like such also amazing position, also doing so many things. As you all, also, I was about to say executive assistants, but the special administrative experts that you would be doing. So it's starting from, preparing, coffee and these offerings to events to running actually pretty high level projects. So you will be doing everything. And then in 2017, I moved on to work in a private accelerator and worked there for 4 years with education startups. And that was just a super, super amazing experience and very different because, Haaga-Helia before is a public sector and that was a private sector. And that taught me also so many new things and how to deal with things and the attitudes also of private sector that it's not so much supported perhaps. So you really need to think about how to make this sustainable, where to get money from, so that you can continue doing this work. And 8 months ago, I just absolutely accidentally saw a recruitment advertisement for Aalto for the position of Incubation Specialist, and I read it, and I thought, that's me. that's like totally a description of me. And I called, and we talked probably for an hour, and then he invited me directly to the interview, and I've been working there since. So it's been a super interesting career, more or less in the same field, working with entrepreneurs and education side. And I know who have then later time to say good words about Haaga-Helia, but I have so many good words and gratitude to Haaga-Helia in these studies. Literally, I cannot think of any course or activity that wouldn't teach me something that I would later use in work and life. So even if you now think that, why do I need this course? When you actually go to work, I'm pretty sure you will use these skills and knowledge, and then you will think like, oh, it's good I didn't skip it. And I also like that, that you started talking about confidence, and I think that to me it helped a lot to build my confidence, because we were always told by the teachers that ASSI is the best program ever, and that ASSI people get work right away, and that it's like so high level, and that ASSI is an expert in everything. I just remember that phrase, ASSI is an expert in everything. So I always felt really proud of this degree. I always felt really proud that I'm ASSI, and that also perhaps helped to build my confidence as well when I was going out to search for a job and doing other things. I'm always really proud to say that I'm from ASSI.
About the courses, I would just quickly add before you tell about your career that one of the most important courses I feel like what I've had here in Haaga-Helia would be, for working as an assistant, the business meeting practices and ICT tools, very much important, and going to Spain.
Yeah, right here.
Yes.
I'll pay you later.
And also Spanish business language, and English, of course, because it's everywhere. Yeah. Those are the most important. And I just realized that I told about my career, what I did, or where I went, but I totally forgot to mention what were the tasks that I actually got to do at the embassy. So if anyone is interested, you will be doing social media content for the embassy, organizing events for Business Finland, for example, creating formal invitations, sending them to CEOs and important people, doing customer service, half of the time in Spanish, half of the time in Finnish, sometimes in English, emails, what else? Minutes of the internal meetings, oftentimes booking for Outlook calendars for the consular section, and a lot of things. It's very diverse, the job.
So no pressure.
You will learn a lot.
Would you like to say something?
Yes, so about my career, basically my career at Bosch started in 2019, and I was as an exchange student in Germany, and my exchange was already at its end, but I was so desperate to stay in Germany, and I brought countless job applications to different positions, to different companies, and then to be honest, Bosch was like, because I got many rejections already when I thought I was really close to giving up, but then I thought, it won't hurt if I write to Bosch. It's not like I will lose anything about that. And then after I had an interview, which was not successful, 10 minutes after that, I got an email from Bosch that we have a phone interview with you scheduled if you're interested, and this and that. And basically the phone interview, it was just a formality because it wasn't actually an interview, because my former boss, she just asked me like question that what are you studying, how long will your internship be, and why do you want to be at Bosch and stuff like that. So she didn't ask me about my skills or anything related to accounting, so that wasn't an issue. And then she said, yeah, we will be in touch, and less than a week after that she called me again and said, yes, congratulations, we will take you, we'll send you the labor contract by mail. And that's how it started in Germany, and I worked as an intern in accounting for 5 months. I was basically an assistant for my bosses at accounting, that I had to keep track of our projects, meetings from our monthly meetings in Skype. Had a few meetings with our senior level boss, which was very frightening to go alone, because it was just once that we were in Skype, then he called my boss, and he said, Eemil, yes, he's sitting right next to me. Yeah, I'll let him know. I was like, oh my God, what's happening? They said, Eemil, by the way, you need to go to Thomas's office alone. Okay, but that wasn't an issue. He just had a small project that he didn't have time, because it was already year-end closing, and year-end closing in accounting and in finance, it's always, I wouldn't say the worst time, but it's pretty much the busiest time. And well, after the internship, or when the internship was ending, our Finnish finance manager came to visit us in Stuttgart. I got the chance to meet her and speak to her, and then a few weeks after the meeting, I brought to her that, hey, I'm coming back to Finland. Do you have any open positions at Bosch Finland, or do you have any need for a working student who works maybe 10 hours per week? And she said, yes, absolutely, and I'll just speak to your boss, and then we can get the contract sorted out and so on. And after my exchange year in Germany, I just came back and had 1 month off, and then I started to work at Bosch Finland as a working student. And I was also studying at Haaga-Helia, and then the pandemic came, so it was a very challenging year, the 2020, because of a lot of changes and then this pandemic. And then the studies at Haaga-Helia were also at its end, so it was a very interesting and challenging time. So it's something that I will always remember, that year and those challenges. And after graduating, they offered me a full-time position as a finance assistant, and I've been working at Bosch ever since. I'm very, very happy, and I'm very actually proud, and I would say that honored to work at a company like Bosch. So it never hurts to, it's like the advice is that it never hurts to write an extra application or so, because you never know what will come up.
Like Anna said about the phone call, you said also that you called and you had the first interview on phone, so it really paid off to not give up.
Yes.
And just pursue to get the internship in Germany.
Yes, because after the first interview that I had in Germany in general, it was a very nerve-wracking experience, because you're in a different country, different culture, you've never experienced this before, and you're thinking, what are you going to do? And then it went downhill, and the big consolation was that 10 minutes after the interview, I just got an email from Bosch that we have a phone interview with you if you're interested.
Why did you think it went down? Because they called you, so it
No, the first interview was at Porsche, and I just knew it went wrong, because my intuition told me that it went wrong, and the body language of the interviewees were like, yeah, we are a bit disappointed, yeah, you're not maybe what we are looking for, or...
Okay.
And because I could not answer half of the questions that they were asking, and they were asking very trick questions, that what would you do in this situation? Then I was thinking, but how is this related to the job? And then it just went from like off the rails and everything. But luckily after that, Bosch sent me the email, and it was like it was destined to be like that. But I was lucky and privileged.
Are there any more questions?
Well, maybe a bit later. Oh, there's one.
Yes, please.
Yeah, if you look back to your studies life, if you like you got already graduated and almost graduated. So what you could do differently as a student, and what could be like connected to your career now?
It's a hard question. It's a good question. Let's see. Well, maybe I would connect more with my classmates because, well, it was also because of the pandemic situation that everything was like shut down and classes were online and all the student events were cancelled. But if I had the chance, I would connect more with my classmates and not only do the studies, also have fun while studying.
Yes, that's a really good answer, and I'm also thinking that what I would have done differently is maybe I would have networked even more. So I said that how important networking is, and I got a lot of networking, but maybe I would have done even more of that. But what I really liked is that it's probably the same, that you do a lot of pretty practical projects, like for event organizing, you're actually organizing an event, etc. So when you do that, always think and choose those projects and companies and events that you are really interested in and that you think that might also benefit you to get a job later on, because you're already building certain networks within a certain area. Don't just do a random event, try to do some actual thing so that you get real experience. And that was also a good one, that maybe even spend more time with the classmates and actually do more things with the classmates. Because I know that all my classmates, they're also all working in different places and pretty amazing places. So that's another great network for you.
Well, also from my side, that just hanging out with your classmates is important, because from my group, I can say at least that the first year was that we were one big group, 15 of us, that we had that we met outside of Haaga-Helia and went to bowling or movies or had a Christmas party and so on. But then after that, especially when the exchange came and half of us went to different parts of the world, and when we came back, it wasn't the same. That people just stuck with their own plans and we did not hang out so much with each other. And even now, after we graduated, I just keep contact with a few of my friends or colleagues from Haaga-Helia. So that's probably the biggest regret. But there was actually nothing we could have done about it, because it's just.
I guess that's just how life is. You really go your own path, and not many people stay along with your path. But definitely enjoy the first year or first years, and throughout the studies, when possible, connect with people and have a good time studying.
And also maybe when you write the diploma, that you work a bit harder with it. I can say from my experience that my motivation was not at a very high level in the end, that I was like, it's good enough to graduate. So, but in all seriousness, that's.
Have you ever missed some competencies in finance and accounting or something like that, because you're now working with finance now?
Yes, because the courses that I had with Kirsi-Marja, they were, one was for travel claims, which I did here at Finland. That was very useful. And also the second was about the financial statements, but that's not relevant at the moment because that's not in my tasks right now. But at Bosch Finland, there were very many tasks that I had to learn by doing, because we had invoice scanning and invoice posting and how to post VATs correctly and etc. etc. So if I would have taken some other finance courses, maybe I would have been better prepared, but otherwise it gave a very solid ground for me.
Yes.
Maybe also one more advice to that while you're still studying, take as many courses as you want or can as voluntary courses, like whatever interests you or whatever you feel you get benefits from. Because when you graduate and you will want to take these courses, then you have to pay. But now you don't need to. So take this opportunity and study more and get more skills, or just something that you're genuinely interested in.
I wanted to ask furthermore about the calling part. And what do you think that it really got to the recruiter? You know, I want to always reach out, to make impression and get their attention, but I don't know what's the correct question that actually got to the recruiter. What kind of question could be? What did you ask?
I think it doesn't even matter so much what you ask as the act itself. It can be as simple as, can you tell me a bit more about this position? What are going to be the tasks and qualifications? Yeah, in a way, it's already written in the advertisement. But if you ask them, and I asked it once, and the lady, she was just like for half an hour telling me everything about the position. So it really felt like it helped, and I could really personalize then my application later on when I'm sending out. And people, how to say, there's a very, very good this psychological moment that people really like to talk about themselves and what they do. So even if you ask like a simple question like that, or what do you think about this position, or can you tell me about the team or something, they're just gonna start, talking, and after the conversation, they will feel like, oh, I had such a great dialogue with this person, even if you don't say anything. That's true. That's like also, in selling, like the best sales people are not those who are actually telling you things, but those who ask and listen. And then another good point is that if you actually ask some relevant question that's connected to this position or to the field, I mean, in my example, for example, when I was applying for this Incubation Specialist position, it was, so the task is to build a pre-incubation program. So that's basically a program that supports entrepreneurs in building their businesses. And the question I asked, and I was genuinely interested because I've been working in this field, and I knew that there are two projects that were funded to build incubation programs in the university. So, I called and I asked, like, hey, is this the campus incubator program or the Urbatech, program? And he said, neither of those. It's our own thing. And then he started explaining. But, that immediately showed him that I am aware of this, area, and I'm aware of what's happening. So it just immediately shows my expertise in a way. So if you can think of something like that you can ask them, but at the same time shows that you're knowledgeable, and I think that would be another good question.
Any other questions? And of course, you can continue with the questions after we sort of, you get some more food and maybe something to drink, and our speakers get some food and something to drink, which is the most important thing. Thank you so much. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your time.